All right. Hello, everybody. We are here for our weekly hypnosis talks with me, Jessaiah, and the great Pete. And so we wanted to just kind of continue from last week talking about ways to train your mind, ways to train your brain, ways to train your memory, ways to train all the way down to a cellular level, and a lot of that has to do with just kind of your daily actions and habits, various things that through hypnosis you learn. And if you have a good practitioner, they'll often give you things to work on before, during, and after. And these are things that they vary widely. And so we'll just kind of see naturally how this conversation goes. But to me, in many ways, and I'm curious what Pete thinks too, but to me, in many ways, all of these various forms of, um, these different kind of ways to train, like this is really kind of like the meat and potatoes to me of the hypnosis is your own work. And sometimes, sometimes we don't know how to train a muscle. We don't know how to cut our own hair. We don't know how to do these basic things until we're told. And it's the same with knowing that the memories that have, you know, tortured you, or, something that you think is your personality that can never be changed. Like these are the things that I feel like we use with hypnosis that can really, that we have more control of than we know, even down to the cellular level, which is just so fascinating. So, what do you think about that, Pete?
Yeah, so I agree with that 100%, right? Um, the way I work with people, especially, is that I'm not here to create the change. I'm here to give you the tools for you to create the change, right? And the the way I usually describe it is like I'm no different than a GPS, right? I know the fastest routes. That's why you're paying for the service, right? Because versus maybe taking years of self study and stuff like that, you get to go directly to the source and get there a lot quicker, um, which makes it worth it, at least in my opinion. But it is like when we think of whether it's bad memories, moments we want to forget that we're kind of stuck in, those are moments our mind is very much going, we need to keep this on high alert just in case it ever happens again. And when it has to have that feeling, there's no way for us to move past it, right? Because it's kind of and just in the forefront of our mind of like this could happen again. And so when we can begin to move it into a different place, different perspectives, different feelings, different thoughts about it, we get to now reduce to remove the need for it to be a constant, right? It's one where I was talking um, to someone this morning about really their anxiety, right? And the stresses in their life. And I was like, look, I go, anxiety by itself is a good thing. It's not bad. It's when we have anxiety at a safe time in our life, right? So the way I look at it is I'm close to Boston, right? If I were to go down a dark alley at 2 a.m. in Boston, I should have anxiety. I should not be going down that road going, da, 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 nothing bad gonna happen. I should be able to go, what was that noise, right? That adrenaline it gives is much needed in that moment. However, if it's a Tuesday afternoon, I'm at my office job and I'm just typing away on the computer and then it hits me, that's where anxiety got confused, right? Something said, hey, we got to be on high alert right now. We don't know what's going on, right? And it goes into panic mode. Our job is to go, well, there's a right time and there's a wrong time, right? And kind of like you said, we got to train it to tell the difference, right? That way it can come when it's needed and go when it's not, you know. And for a lot of us, we want it gone now. Right? We want it gone instantly. Um, but when we think about how it's like training our mind and bodies, right? When we are working out and training very particular muscles, right? Whether it's our biceps, triceps, legs, whatever, you just don't go in and go, all right, what's the highest setting? All right, put it on the 700 something pounds and do that. We start really light and work our way up over repetition, right? Because repetition is how we train. There's no skipping the basics and the foundation when it comes to any training we have. Um, the other thing that I like as far as understanding, our cells is where we store our memories, right? It's where our DNA is. It's where everything is passed down, right? That is where our memories are lived. We typically believe that our memories are in our brain, but our brain is not our mind. And once we can really understand that, it was one where I had a client who would bring on a very certain emotion in our sessions, and all of a sudden their body would start tingling in whether it's their arm, their leg, in very specific spots. And it was such a cool awareness to watch on their eyes, right? When they were kind of like, whoa, like I don't store my anger up in here. I actually store it in my arm. You know, that awareness allows you to go, okay, so if it's stored in my arm, what can I do to train it to only show up at certain times, right? When I'm angry, you know, if it's traffic and you're in traffic every day, you know there's going to be traffic. Maybe that's not the right time for this anger to come up. So what do? We go, what do we want to feel instead? Now, if it's calmness, you go, okay, where does that calmness live in your body? Right. And so like, let's just say it's in the chest, right? When you're in traffic, you bring on that feeling you have in your chest, because that is how your mind and body are going to relate to each other. You're not just saying what emotion, you're saying where the emotion, right? And let it spread. And with anything in life, again, like if we take it physically as far as weight, you know, training goes, it's not going to stay, right? It might come for a minute and then it's going to subside. And the usual response of the anger is going to want to come up. And it's our job to go, no, 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 we're bringing on this feeling in our chest, not the arms, and then it'll subside, maybe for 2 minutes, and then it's going to come back, right? It's up to us to keep saying, no, that's not the right time for this. We're doing this one now. We're strengthening our calm muscle in traffic, right? We're strengthening our feelings to do differently, knowing that it's not what it's used to. So it does take that little bit of strain, a little bit of extra effort sometimes to make it consistent, right?
So that for me, there's a way that I learned to do it, and I actually gave it to a client, and I think I got it from you, and I've heard it from some other folks as well. So that was where when the anxiety comes, that is your body's marker, like it's telling you it's time to relax. So that actually what it becomes is it becomes the thing that you are naturally, um, you know, experiencing in your body. You're not creating something new. This thing, now you're changing it from being something that takes over you, that you can't handle that. And instead you're going, oh, that's for the body. That's the body saying it's time to relax. And
Yeah.
I actually kind of understood it in various layers. So at first I was like, okay, this is just a hack to get you to there, right? And that was good enough. So it worked for this woman, and so I decided to try it. And I couldn't believe how much it worked for me, where I was like, okay, this is powerful. Then what I learned, that my experience told me was, actually, it is exactly what your body is telling you. Now, not always, of course, like, but when I'm driving and it's coming from nowhere, or I'm laying down and it's coming from nowhere, it's like this, we learn from our symptoms, and our body speaks to us if we listen. And then there's various ways we can interpret it. But one interpretation that just felt so real for me is, this isn't actually only a hack. It's my body saying something's going on, and the best thing to do right now is relax,
Yeah.
right? Instead of going through that experience. So that's what's really worked for me. So when I hear you say it the way you're saying it, it it sounds a little bit different.
So I say a few ways to look at it, and no one way is right for everyone, right? So
Right.
it's like everyone, you play that individual, like, oh, let's do this way first, see how it plays out, and make adjustments along the way. But it very much is like, let's say again, like I live in Massachusetts, it's winter, it's snowing, it's cold, right? If I go outside in shorts and a t-shirt, I'm physically going to start to shiver, right? Now I can either go, all right, I'm going to keep shivering, right? Because maybe it's just me going from my house to my car to start it back to my house, right? I'm okay with shivering for that amount of time. But maybe I have to stay outside and wait for the bus, right? Me starting to shiver is a sign that I'm getting cold and I have to do something different, right? Which is usually put on pants, a coat, whatever, hats, gloves, right? To stop the shivering, because it's a sign, right? And so the example you have, which I love, right, is, if we think about it in technical terms, right, you're collapsing an anchor, right? What once triggered that anxiety, that feeling, will now instantly collapse and trigger the calmness, right? The more you repeat it, the easier it becomes, right? A lot of people aren't always aware, though, that they have that ability. You know, they typically go, well, I'm anxious now, I got to avoid the situation, versus going, I got to change how I handle the situation. You know, is this an appropriate time to feel this feeling? You know, because if you're really not aware of, is it the situation that caused it, or is it a misdirection of something in our past that causing it, we can get stuck really well in that. Um, and this is where, like, the mindful part of it, of looking inside, going, okay, what in me is kind of bringing this feeling out? Is it reminding me of something in the past, right? Is it reminding me that, oh man, this event when I was 7 years old got me really scared, and just similar stuff is going on? And I'm scared because, just like a 7-year-old, that was scary, right? And we get to go, wow, that was different then, right? We get to go, well, if I'm not going to feel anxious then, what do I want to feel now? And right, it needs to be fun. I think that's the big thing, is it has to be fun to go, what do I want to feel instead? What are times in my life where I have felt that way? How can I incorporate those feelings into this situation? You know?
I feel like, that's a point that I just want to pause on too for a moment, that when you're feeling a certain way, that you have this opportunity to say, how would I like to feel instead? Like, and it's, there's different ways that I've experienced doing it, and I've seen clients do it, where sometimes you try to force something, like, I'm going to put this feeling and this idea and thought on this thing, which usually doesn't work for me. And I notice the different, like, tone and quality tone and everything in it when I try to manipulate the experience. I don't mean manipulate in a bad way, but, just make the thing happen the way that I want it. Opposed to listening to the body and saying, what would I like instead? What would you like instead? Um, and and then not questioning the image, the word, the symbol that you get, and just to keep exploring it. And this is a different quality tone. And so, people who are listening, if you try these things, it'd be so interesting to see, like, does it work for you to listen to your body? Does it scare you? Do you question it? Does your critical mind come in a way that doesn't allow you to just take what comes? Does it work for you to just superimpose or put on that thing that you want? Does that work? And there's no judgment in either of them. I'm genuinely curious, like, has that worked for you? I find that for me, I think I just said this, but I'll just repeat that when I try to um, put on the thing that I want, it I'll it doesn't just work that way. But sometimes I'll put it on the experience, and then, like, if I'm trying to get something out of my, like, conscious, or something. So I'll do that. I'll tend to see resistant doesn't quite work, and then I'll just kind of sit with it, watch it, and allow it. And it's like, I feel like that's very similar in meditation. You learn in meditation, the more you fight your thoughts, it's like, don't think of a pink elephant. Okay, now you just thought of a pink elephant. So there's something about trying to force a thing opposed to noticing it. It's like subtle, it's but huge, right? Like, um instead of trying to force this thing to get out of your system or force this other thing to happen, like, notice that it's happening. Notice in your body where it is. Now imagine what you would like, and notice where it shows up in your body, and then notice how it feels when it, whatever it does, if it needs to radiate or get healthy, or you know replace. So that's my little ramble on that one.
Yeah, it's true. Like, so for me, I'm a big metaphors person. Right? Anyone who reads most of my stuff, there's always metaphors thrown in there. Right? Maybe because I grew up on Aesop fables and all of that, but I find them to be really impactful. Right? To the point where, like, if I think of like a super calm animal, right, my mind goes to a sloth in a tree, right? Where I go, okay, so what about them reminds me of calmness, right? And it's, man, they just kind of in their own groove, and they just kind of mosey along, and they got no kind of cares in the world. And right, even me just thinking about it, like, I'm slowing down, right? But then I go, man, like, what is something that's high energy? And cheetah just pops into my mind, right? It's like, because they're on the go and they're fast and they're like a blur. I can't help but begin to embody that, you know. And so sometimes we get stuck on, like, what do you want to feel? Well, I want to feel calm, and we go, I don't know. Like, what does calm feel like? I've never felt calm, yeah. And we get to realize that that is okay, because we still know what calms look like. Because if you can think of maybe a calming movie, a calming sound, a calming animal, right? Anything that just represents calm to you, you get to begin to embody it, right? You get to begin to go, oh yeah, that's why that looks calm, right? And you can do this with every emotion. And I think we should do it with every emotion. Um, there was a Olympic sports, like, trainer, for Russia for the longest time. Then he came to the U.S. And he really talks about how every one of us has multiple personalities, but not in the way we clinically think of it. Right? We all have the ability to be happy, sad, calm, angry, frustrated. It's as if we're wearing a different set of clothing every time we do. You know, The problem for a lot of us is we don't choose which one we want to wear. We just let the circumstance dictate how we should dress, right? Kind of like how someone was going, oh man, we're going to a black tie event. You wouldn't show up in jeans and a t-shirt because it's not appropriate, right? So you let the event dictate what you would wear. And when you let it dictate what you wear, you have to fall into their perceptions, their standards, their way of doing things versus choosing what you're going to do, right? And for me, growing up, like the movie The Big Lebowski was such like a big thing because he's just a dude, right? He wore his robe and his shorts and t-shirt everywhere, no matter what the situation dictated. And as much as people around him tried to have him change who he was, because he chose his clothing, he chose how he responded. Yeah. And it's one where for me, like I incorporate that into my life, right? I get to choose the clothing I'm going to wear physically and metaphorically. Like, am I going to be angry if someone cuts me off in traffic? I get to dictate if I'm going to put that on, not it just instantly happening because the situation told me so. You know, it definitely wasn't an overnight thing, but it was a constant reminder, right, of really, again, technical jargon of reframing the situation, right? It took me coming up with pretty silly scenarios of someone cut me off in traffic going, wow, I bet their wife is in labor and they're just trying to get to the hospital, to, oh, they're in a drag race and they're trying to win $1 million, right? Who knows? Either one could be right. Either one could be wrong, right? But me just instantly going, wow, they must really hate me. That's why they cut me off. They cut me off to get this guy going, right? That is equally as crazy as a drag race, because I'll almost guarantee that 10 out of 10 times, they're not even thinking it's you. They don't care who you are. They're in their own world. They're trying to do their own thing, right? And so why am I going to get angry just because someone's trying to do their own thing the best way they can with the information they have? You know? And it's like, now it's like, yeah, people can cut me off. I'm kind of like, that's cool. And I'll just do my own thing and no big deal. And, you know, but then there's times where, yeah, hey, you know what? If someone spit in my face, I would be more than happy to put on that angry costume, right? That angry clothing, to be like, that is unacceptable. But I'm in control of that, right? I get to choose.
Yeah, I think that's, we're at our 20-minute mark, so maybe we can just, kind of finish off with this, having more of a choice opposed to just being dictated by anxiety, fear, anger, any of these things, especially most people, especially if they're coming to hypnosis, but, want to remove the blocks that, are blocking them from their life, their happiness, their freedom, their success. And so it's, just to kind of like summarize, I'll summarize. And then if you want to summarize, it sounds to me like some things that you can do is start to just pay some attention to these qualities and then ask yourself, what would I like instead? Which is a very distinctive difference from I don't want this, this, and this, which is the most common kind of human thing. We really know what we don't want, but why is that so much easier than what we do want? So establish what it is that is this experience, noticing it without fighting it. Instead, think of what you do want. Now, if you don't know how you can get there, you just don't know, then you imagine someone, something, or some person, animal, like I have written down here, that does get curious about their qualities. And then, and then what, Pete?
And then you just embody it, right? That's it. Because yes, there's so much in life where we don't know how we're going to get from A to Z, right? But we don't always have to worry about that. one of the things I really go by is if we do the right things, we will get to the right outcome, right? We don't need to know steps elemental P if we're on steps A, B, and C, right? Because yes, we may not know steps elemental P yet, but how could we when we're on steps A, B, and C? So we got to trust as long as we go to A, B, and C, then D through F will become clear. Once we get to F, H, I, J will become clear, and so on, right? We don't have to worry about the future ones. We just got to worry about the next one. And as long as we do the right thing, we will get to the next step.
Well, the right thing, though, that's a very large topic. So, you know, if you're feeling anxious, scared, upset, blocked, what is the next right thing?
Yeah. So it's the next step, or the first step would be choosing what you want to feel instead, right? Like that is step A. If you go, I am anxious, I am blocked, and you go, man, I want to be calm and clear, we get to go, great. What is that? Step B, right, would be, what does that look like? Does it look like a nice sunny day on the beach with the waves coming in and out? Right. And you go, well, yeah, that's it calm in this with the clear skies. Right. So what do you notice from that moment that you don't have now? Right. What's different in those two situations? Right. And you get to go, okay, well, this one over here, I'm stressed about work and money and life and family and friends. And over here, I'm just in the moment. I'm just enjoying the waves coming in and out. So we get to go, how do we take being in the moment there and bring that into here? Right? How do you still be in the moment? Because you're still going to have work and family and friends and bills. But how do we stay in the moment here? Right? What are things we can do to stay in the moment? Right? And that becomes steps, C through F. Right? Not that you're going to know all of them, but you go, wow, with work, I can just go in, and being in the moment is kind of just going, you know what? I'm just going to worry about the thing on my desk. I got a whole stack of stuff, but I'm going to worry about that one, because that's in the moment. Next thing you know, you're getting them done. When it's your home and you're with your kids, maybe being in the moment is going, you know what? I'm going to put the work email down. I'm going to close the laptop, turn off the TV, and I'm going to give, my child just a half hour, 20 minutes, 10 minutes of just my pure attention of being in the moment, right? With a spouse, it could be, hey, at the end of the day, when we're done, we're just going to just sit there and just talk to each other about anything, non-judgmental conversation. Whether it's bill, it's okay. So in the moment, what can I do about the bill? It might be nothing. You may have to go, well, I can't worry about this bill until Friday when I get paid. But then it means you get to put it aside until Friday when you get paid. It's no longer in your mind, in your worries, because you have another time to think about it. Right. And you get to be in the moment of then something else. Right.
So it seems like for next week, we should talk about, how do you, see where you are, know where you'd like to be, and then still be where you are present comfortably while feeling like where you want to be is just an illusion that you kind of go to feel good, this like happy dream place, but you're still in this bad place. It's like, what are the true steps to take, that people talk about and have really talked about working, not only manifestation, which has, some real, girth to it, but more how to notice what you're doing now that's keeping you there and seeing what that future self did to get there. And then, trying to find like a support in that, in some of like your hardest moments. So I'd love for us to talk about that one next week.
I love
So
it.
great. Well, hey, it was really nice to have some more viewers here today. Thank you for being here, and ask us any questions always. And Pete, thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll sign off for now. So we hope everyone has a great week.
Thank you.